let's take a look at some bright and colorful and totally awesome tabletop role-playing game adventures. So I was lucky enough to have some of my TTRPG zines looked at in some YouTube videos recently, and it's so amazing to have people say positive things about your work, and even more amazing is being introduced to a lot of new players. And I just think that supporting indie creators is such a big deal. It might not feel like a big deal when you buy a zine or share somebody's work on social media, but it really means a lot. I know firsthand just how big of a difference it makes, so I wanted to pay it forward and share a few of my favorite TTRPG adventures that I've gotten my hands on recently. But before we jump into the adventures, I just want to give out a huge thank you to Kelsey from the Arcane Library, Mike from Sly Flourish, and Kyle from Mapcrow. I'm going to have their channels linked down in the description. Seriously, these are three of the most friendly, helpful, and creative people. Do yourself a favor, go subscribe and watch all of their videos. Okay, let's kick it off with Bodhi from Slow Quest. I've talked about Bodhi's work before, and I'm sure I will talk about it more in the future because I absolutely love it. I recently picked up 4 packs of these adventure zines, adventure pamphlets. These little ones are like quick encounters, not quite full dungeons, maybe like an expanded encounter from a random table. I think these little pamphlets are the perfect thing to keep in your back pocket in case you need to, throw down something on the table really quick. The players discover this hermit's hideout and find some treasure, fight some bats, and interact with this crazy hermit guy. Or maybe they stumble upon a magic vending machine. It's got a bunch of cool magic items, like the Tasty Hasty that gives more movement speed, or Holy Cola it's basically just fizzy holy water. There's also the Kroll door that would be a fun encounter just for the entrance of some dwarven underground temple tomb area. Or it could totally be the entrance to Poggin's Passage or the Halls of Gralk. These pamphlets are a little bit bigger and would totally work as a fun one-shot. And really, these pamphlets are my favorite type of adventure, my favorite type of one-shots. They have cool maps to explore. They each have a really solid theme and a sort of fun, lighthearted tone. They're all a self-contained story that could totally lead into a bigger adventure really easily if you wanted to. They've got excellent random tables to mix things up in case you want to play them multiple times. Lots of great treasures and encounters, and best of all, as a GM, they're full of weird little NPC characters that would be so fun to play. Everything I'm showing off here is 5e compatible, but would be really easy to convert to whatever system you want. I just love the art and the maps so much, so if you're looking for a whimsical adventure to throw down on the table, definitely check out Bodhi at Slow Quest. Next up, we have 2 amazing system-neutral adventures, Sleeping Heart of the Garden by Amber Seeger and Broken Heart of the Castle by S.C. Ormond. Both of these adventures were published by Amber and my pals over at Cloud Curio, and both of these are, I think, perfect examples of well-written and awesomely laid out adventure design. In Heart of the Garden, the players will be looking for the Fruit of Dreams. It's a sort of linear point crawl through this crazy garden that ends in an encounter with the dragon that is springtime. If that doesn't sound awesome, I don't know what does. This one's great because it's inspired by old point-and-click adventure games, which are some of my favorite games of all time. So there's a lot of fun items that the players can get and then use in interesting ways to solve the puzzles at each location. Super cool stuff. In Heart of the Castle, there's this walking castle that's headed straight for the city of Bells Falls, and it's gonna trample everything and destroy the city if the players can't climb up and stop it. There's a bunch of bat and pig monsters, and there's this mystery about these warriors with broken hearts. I should say both of these adventures are very sort of fairy tale fantasy inspired. But what I love about both of these zines is that the writing and the layout makes it really, really easy to run this at the table. At first glance, you see this tabloid-sized 2-column layout that's similar to all of the 5e adventure books, but I think these two zines are so much better. So each area of the dungeon starts with the typical box text, the really well-written, evocative introduction to the room that the players are standing in. You could totally read it aloud or summarize whatever your style of GMing is. And then it's got streamlined text with all of the helpful information that you would need to run whatever encounters are in there. Items, weapons, NPCs, and enemies are all sort of blocked out in their own color, in their own sections. And then there's the really helpful little map down at the bottom that shows you how each room connects to the other rooms. Just really wonderfully, excellently designed stuff here. If you're looking for an adventure where your players get to meet a really cool dragon or maybe take control of a walking castle, definitely check out Broken Heart of the Castle and Sleeping Heart of the Garden. Next up is Barkeep on the Borderlands by W.F. Smith of Prismatic Wasteland. I hesitate to even call this a zine. It's 60 pages and it is absolutely overflowing with so many cool ideas, so much awesome stuff. There's a ton of guest writers and artists. The cover art's by Sam Mamelli. A lot of the cartography is by Jim Hall. It's printed by LFOSR, so this thing is stacked with awesome stuff. So Barkeep on the Borderlands is a system-neutral point crawl, or I guess pub crawl. It's a take on the Keep on the Borderlands, sort of. It's basically like the classic Keep on the Borderlands adventure, but 100 or hundreds of years in the future, and this big city has been built up around the Keep. There's a cool overarching story where the monarch of the Keep has been poisoned and needs an antidote, so your players are going to go on this bar crawl to all these taverns around the city and try and find this antidote. Of course, there are other factions in the cities that are trying to find the antidote themselves or maybe stop the antidote from being found so they can take over the city. And there's this fun time mechanic that sort of keeps you on pace as the raves of chaos are going on. It's this big festival that happens in the town. You know, it puts a time limit on your mission. Of course, a bar crawl adventure would have drinking rules. They make total sense and they seem super fun. You know, you want to balance your drunkenness. If you don't drink, all of the patrons in the taverns are going to assume you're hiding something. And as a non-drinker, that makes my social anxiety flare up. So, you know, because of that stuff, I probably wouldn't run this adventure like as the whole kind of campaign that it's setting out. However, this book is so full of awesome ideas. Even if you only picked out one of the taverns to throw down on your table, it would totally be worth it. The rest of the zine is filled with 20 unique taverns, lots and lots of awesome NPCs and encounters, like Granny's Cottage, you know, is a witch-themed tavern. And there's stuff like this friendly gelatinous cube that comes out of the kitchen and then patrons throw their plates and forks and knives into the cube to get cleaned off. I just love that kind of stuff so much. The themes of all of the taverns are so wonderful and well thought out. Like there's this Brutal Legion tavern. It's where all the old retired barbarians go to take it easy. So there's lots of fun stories to tell. Like one of the barbarians killed his own ghost. And then all these crazy fights are gonna break out. There's our old lady, the Sacred Speakeasy, which is a nightclub run by a bunch of cultists. So at one point, you know, the trap door can open on the dance floor and a patron falls down below to be sacrificed. Each tavern is laid out on these 2-page spreads and it's got everything you need from who the patrons are. There's these sidetracks tables, you know, it's like random tables of things that could happen out on the street to keep the players from going inside. Then there's situations, the things that are happening inside. Of course, there's a menu of everything that the players can purchase inside. And all of these tables are just so well themed. So like in the Whirling Mummy, there's these dance battles going on so the players can join the dance battle, but then they have to make sure the crowd's on their side. There's the bar at the beginning of the universe that's like this big long tunnel through time. All kinds of crazy stuff going on in there. There's so many great things to say about Barkeep on the Borderland. If you just need some taverns, or if you like the idea of going on a pub crawl adventure, definitely check this one out. Okay, lastly, we're talking about Brave Zenith by Giuliano Roverato and Rodrigo Melchor. This isn't exactly an adventure. There is an adventure in the back of the book called Xandor's Manse that is a dungeon about cleaning the inside of a genie lamp. If the players can clean things up, they'll win the favor of Xandor the genie and get a wish granted. But really, I think this game is just so charming and colorful and fun, but still dangerous. You play as adventurers in this archipelago that's surrounded by this crazy mist. I think the system is really simple and fun. There's 3 stats, a bunch of skills. You can play as humans, catfolk, or jellies. And then each player gets a vocation. So there's a freelancer, a mixologist, a thief, a magic user, a hunter, or a dancer. Each vocation gets bonuses to skills and then equipment and special abilities. And you can tell just by the art what kind of game this is supposed to be, right? Quirky characters with lots of fun, different gear. The mechanics are really simple, 2d6 plus that attribute, and if you have any skills, you're just trying to beat a challenge rating. Of course, there's spell casting and there's a cooking system, and then you can get these Zenith special abilities that are kind of like, if your character's going to use this, they're basically going to die, but like go out in a blaze of glory. You can become one of the islands in the archipelago. Your character actually just starts growing and gets so big they can't fit into places. And eventually you just get so big that you have to flee into the ocean so you don't crush everybody. And then the referee section has so many awesome tables for making NPCs and locations. Really, really flavorful stuff. You know, like one of the treasures is a box of still sealed black pasta, a hive of parasites that can bring the dead back to life. Like, that just sounds so awesome. Or some of the effects of this deadly mist. If you get caught up in there, time could get all wonky and everybody starts moving in slow motion. Or words can become physical, which could be really cool, but each time you do it, it drains your stamina. There's a bunch of awesome monsters. I love this blue coral crab. People started stealing all this valuable blue coral, so now the crab is taking revenge and stealing people's money and has this huge treasure trove of gold. There's a butter construct. It just says, the lack of cows in the archipelago brings the age-old question, where do the butter constructs come from? Why don't they just melt away? What is butter? Brave Zenith just seems like such a fun game, and like all the stuff I've shown in this video, just so many cool creative ideas. You know, we can take fantasy games and stretch them further and be more creative than just using the same old fantasy tropes over and over again. I have links to everything mentioned down in the description. Please, please, please go support these creators and buy these adventures. I think supporting this kind of stuff really makes a big difference. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!